It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. I'm watching the See the BS this morning. There's quite a few things on tap for mention for me. One is, I've mentioned it before, there's this correlation somewhere between the original chickenpox virus that they inoculated all of us when we were just infants, or it was, then there was a booster for it. I don't know how the inoculation schedule went with the drug companies, but then they're saying there's some license number to that, and then there's some additional punishment, as if the pock and the scars of some disease on the epidermal layer wasn't enough, by introducing some form of nanometric of spirichet vibrio or spirilla in like nanophytes in medical microbiota, infectious disease and control. I'm watching the, and these are harmful shots that the humans, or the, not the humans, the persons at this point, since is like, I'm walking with a limp. That's a problem. This looks like the hand of the imp, and this looks like there was some multiplier, like, added in all of the wrong whatever is going on. I see yesterday there's something called the President Joe Biden signed into some executive book that says something about lynching, LynchinG. Now, the persons inside North America make it sound like the evil white man came up to the black innocent man, put a rope around his neck, and hung him from a tree. But when President Joe Biden is signing some book, now all of a sudden they're changing the verse from what the persons originally advertised it as in a campaign in the public eye and the person's eye. And now it's becoming some, I don't know, is this like a Green Jacket Masters Club? Because I even saw there, now they're like displaying this Green Jacket Mastery Club thing on a golf course. Lou doesn't play golf. Lou's never been invited to these golf clubs. Lou doesn't have a green jacket, my father. So I don't know what else to say about that. But I see there's a man now, or they're not even a man. He's some other piecemeal that's on a golf course swinging a club, and they're promoting green jackets to not Isle of Man in some whatever. I mean, this gets really difficult to manage at multifaceted, which used to be like the one circle with the sunbeams going out, and they looked like spirilla, and then they had some kind of wing nut that was capping it off, but it seems like they're all at different degrees of threading of a wing nut. So some have a lot of tread to go, some are treadless. They're totally bald. And then there's some, not us, but actor in Hollywood, which is that, I don't know if she's Jada Pinkett or Halle Berry. I don't know which one it is. The one that shaved her head. First of all, her hair follicles don't even look like alopecia. But if she's doing it in solidarity, the media has not portrayed that properly, because she does not have hair follicle loss. which is like the telltale signs of alopecia, where you get large bald spots. It looks more like shaving the head of Samson or Samsonite of some sort for some other nefarious purpose, or to convey some other level of mastery message to some larger, grander audience, to send some cascading force off into a multi-tiered succession of decisions and operations without saying in the front what exactly it is and which one of the cards will be turned in the correct fashion, making this game even more dangerous, because it should be a known operation, not in some plachinko or pinchinko or whatever they're calling it now, style whatever in North America. This is health, humans, their safety, and this is ethics. I mean, this is not an ethical way of being. So this is what the commercial looks like that they're putting into my... Oh, and then there's on Channel 2, there's the regular show of See the BS this morning, and then they break for local news. This morning, I've seen this one chick's face, or whatever you call a person's face, that does not look like something I've seen regularly, but they never had a name for her. Today, they actually, in the programming, left her on long enough to give her a name at the bottom, or a label at the bottom, and then they cut her off and went to a different segment. Again, these are signs of the local area is not even getting the same state message. There's some interference within the state of New York and within Long Island and the fish of where, and the count of Queens where I am, since there's 3 counts on the fish at the moment. I'm sorry, 4 that I'm aware of. Or that they make a societal effort to voice, even though I don't know what county means, because I think in the Emerald Society, they have a higher mastery and spoken verse and over-understate of what it means in actuality and in motion. I have no idea, because I don't have an Emerald Society representative to ask my questions to in the brotherhood of man. So here's this, is that in a nanometric, is that like anabolically, is that a spirochete? Since I don't know how microbes are classified in the big wide world of like important people, I only get like the basic training at community college, with my initials on it, by the way, NCC. And then it says dramatization, individual experiences may vary. And it has cork. That's important, cork, for the Cork Society. But this is what I'm experiencing, is this electrolysis. I don't know if it's a living absorbed microbe from air, water, milk, perhaps, something, some way that they're introducing it other than inoculation for it to be this, unless it was somehow, I know some of them change the ribonucleic, or the nucleic acids, so they, for messenger RNA and for transcriptor RNA, if the, I mean, I don't know how to get an inhibitor in order to protect myself. I don't even know if they have one. But I have currently, it's like electric through the joints, through the synovial fluid in the joints. And it's really so painful.
Describe shingles, a painful blistering rash that can interrupt your life for weeks.
For weeks? I have, this is before I had one over here. I mean, I've had this breakout for quite some time now.
Forget social events and weekend getaways. If you've had chickenpox, the virus that causes shingles is already inside of you. If you're 50 years or older, ask your doctor.
Now, is this considered hate speech, or is this considered some kind of psychological torture or fear-mongering in germ warfare? I'm just curious, because it's what actually is going on. So is it a state message to let, like, we've found this out about what Big Pharma's doing with all of your really messed up government who keeps protecting the wrong people and is not working with immigration properly? Then I also noticed I heard something in one of the mentions about one of the concerts and promoters of some music. I'm like, right, it's the MU and it's the SIC, SIC. And it's called Live Nation, LIVE Nation. I'm like, now how is that involved? So they're actively, like, is Big Pharma paying for these promoters to go out there and, like, get third world nation, like, and immigrant, like, all riled up to, like, charge into safety zones? I mean, how is that level of partnership, police work, and law enforcement working with some kind of law that again, they send people to law school to study their own folklore and societal structure. They don't really share it with the general pop. Here's what it says. It says it's copyrighted in 2001 GSK or licensor, and then it's got a number SGXVID210035 October 2021. Who do you take that to? What bank do you go to for that one? Is it a bank? Is it an institution? Is it an insurance house? Is it a conservatorship with endowment? I'm just asking. I don't know. There's these big words I hear the news throw out there, but they're like a big jambalaya in a cauldron of problems. And I don't know where the white witch is, or if that's what they're calling me in this situation. It's unclear.
Pharmacist about shingles.
Got lingering odor?
Now look what is standing around the white man in the White House pushing for anti-lynching. No idea what it means. Because the person's propaganda that I've seen my entire life, of people hanging from trees, and then I saw some man made some artwork exhibition of different dirt samples from trees where people were found allegedly hanging. Now, when you listen to what the president from the White House is actually signing, I'm like, what master is he under? Because it doesn't look or sound, I mean, like, this gets really confusing in its convoluted state. There's, like, nothing gin clear.
For the first time in American history, Lynch...
And she's wearing, this I found out, Lynn has this magazine of people, might as well be persons, and one of the pointy hat, shiny crown pointy hat lady that calls herself queen, because there are others, by the way. There's things like this that call herself a queen, which is not, I don't recognize. So the white woman with the pointy hat and the bedazzled and some specialness somewhere in the family. Her grandson's wife, whatever she's called, had a dress on like this pattern when she went to Belize. But again, I don't know the symbolism and why this woman's wearing it.
Lynching is a federal hate crime. President Biden signed.
Now, which federal? Because I saw, like, I only recognize Russian Federation because they have, like, a white population that they seem to let gather in some unity. What I don't see is that happening in the Americas anywhere. So there's this Hispanic Federation. I've seen some people gather in front of a backing that says Hispanic Federation. Now, are those the federales from Mexico? Because that's like a real big difference between the Russian Federation. So this gets confusing on which Fed is this new signed paper going to be applied to. But here's his audience. And now all of a sudden, it becomes something different. And it says here, lynching becomes federal hate crime. Emmett Till law is named after teen murdered in Mississippi in 1955. Now, I'm questioning because I have the 5557, I have a 505 IETBUS, and I have some questions, but I really don't have the level of master and brotherhood that I need to ask my personal health ministry and foreign ministry questions to, since there's a lot of things that are going on, and I don't know who's at the helm of this back and forth process that seems to be tearing the insides of the territory of North America apart.
Signed the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act yesterday at the White House. Under the law, a crime can be prosecuted as a lynching when a conspiracy to carry out a hate crime ends in death or serious injury.
Lynching was pure terror to enforce the lie that not everyone belongs in America, not everyone is created equal.
Emmett Till was
Again, the boundaries of America. Are we talking North America, Central America, South America? Then there's other people who call themselves, they put other countries first or other continents first, and then they choose two continents. So then that part of America gets confusing. It's really hard to know how to keep oneself safe in a couch potato position when you're already being harmed. And then what the expectations and interpretation of the pinheads at other area of like how they want to use such things and how to put it into effect is an even more scary concept. And here's not on a sound stage, but in the real New York City streets. Watch what crime they committed yesterday.
Cracking down on the flow of illegal guns into the city. Right now, police are trying to track down the woman who broke into a taxi cab in Manhattan, all caught on camera. Take a look. NYPD released this video showing that suspect carrying a cinder block up to that cab and then
walking through the streets of Manhattan with a cinder block. Just for someone who's trying to whatever. This is insane.
Smashing the driver's side window before reaching in and running off. Police say the driver had parked on 37th Street between 9th and 10th Avenues while he went to use the restroom. The suspect apparently got away with an iPhone and $40 in cash. And now let's get to that first alert for...
Why would you... I mean, like... As someone who owns a car, who just parks on the street because it's available parking and you have something real quick to go do, to have to replace now a window to go through the insurance company. So some whatever could take a cinder block, throw it, break your window, reach in, grab your iPhone, and $40. Now you gotta go get a new iPhone. And they're really expensive these days. There's no insurance for them in that sense. I mean, it's like these violations are just, they're like never ending at so many levels. Now this interesting thing came on. This poor woman in the line of duty, her husband got hit, something happened, police suicide, but he's not being recognized. But yet other people, I mean, again, it's just it's public shaming. I don't know why they're attacking her in particular. One got a standing, again, is this the pantomime of others, more serious things that are going on?
Okay, I just told him that I loved him and that we'll get through whatever this is.
9 days after January 6th, Jeff Smith took his own life, one of 4 officers who died by suicide in the 7 months after responding to the attack.
I think the physical attack on him changed him. And if he didn't go to work that day, he'd still be here.
It was just the beginning of Aaron's loss. Like most jurisdictions, D.C. did not consider any suicide a line-of-duty death, denying Aaron much of the family's income, health insurance, and ceremonial honors. Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick suffered fatal strokes the day after January 6th, ruled a line-of-duty death. He laid in state, while Aaron Smith received nothing.
No notes, no recognition, nothing from the city, nothing from the department.
I've never even heard of this laid in state. In New York, that level of, I mean, I can, when I hear it, I can understand it and then now have a contextual platform if I'm able to recall it, if I walk into a different moment because of this acclimate and the amnesia under like a Nicolette Parsons CIA type of a thing in a movie Hollywood reference that they know is a perpetual problem on top of all of this pantomime.
And it's hurtful and it's sad that they can't even reach out to the widow of one of their own officers.
It literally stops. The pay stops 30 days after the death.
You ready? Here's Nora O'Donnell talking about the green, perfect fit green jacket.
Green jacket. The story of the green jacket never grows old.
It's a tradition unlike any other. The Masters.
I've never even heard of it. Now, there's a piece on the Russian-American space station, the ISS. On it, they have a crew. I'm going to, for one, like, documented piece, see what the Russians agree a Russian looks like and what the Americans agree an American looks like in some space outside of Earth's gravitational pull. They're floating in a space outside of the Earthling space for planetary purposes or for outside tertiary planetary purposes. But here's what their group looks like under those two labels. And there's some agreement of Earthlings with other flags that seem to agree with this group because they seem to be a professional standard that's at a different mastery level of some sort.
A short time ago, a Russian Soyuz capsule landed in Kazakhstan, bringing 2 cosmonauts and an astronaut home from the International Space Station. NASA's Mark Vande Hei spent 355 days in space, longer than any other American in a single mission. 15 countries are part of the ISS, but the
So this is it says diplomacy in space, U.S. Russia cooperation on ISS continues despite tensions on Earth. And she's wearing something that says Belize, and this one know about it. So there's your two red, white, and blues right there. And then there's some other partnerships that back up some line of communication when they have to speak about things or make decisions about things.
The U.S. and Russia are its biggest stakeholders. Relations between the two nations are unraveling here on Earth because of Ukraine. But Mark Strassman shows us it's still business as usual in orbit for now.
Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Floating above all the...
Now let's take a look at this crew. Is it safe to say they're a genetically secure bunch for one purpose and one conversation? Because I'm down at Earth level and I've been hurt. There's some funny business going on somewhere within the gravitational pull of the blue marble or the Earth. And it's concerning.
Hostility on Earth. Russian cosmonaut Anton Shkaplerov handed over command of the ISS Tuesday to American astronaut Tom Marshburn.
Are they aware of what's going on Earth? Absolutely. But the teams are professional. The astronauts and cosmonauts are some of the most professional groups you'll ever see.
We have ignition and liftoff.
For 2 decades and counting, Russians and Americans have lived and worked together in space. By design, the ISS has been the interdependent space station. That Russian segment provides all propulsion, controlling the altitude of the ISS. The U.S. segment controls its orientation and provides satellite communications and solar power. Cosmonauts and astronauts operate their respective sides. They need each other to keep the ISS alive, even in moments of diplomatic crisis like Ukraine.
We have our problems with President Putin on Earth. If he pulled the plug on this tomorrow, would the whole thing be at risk? If they abandon the space station, we'd manage. We'd figure it out. But we don't anticipate that. It's survived all these years. It's not going to stop now.
But just last month, Dmitry Rogozin, the head of Russia's space agency, implied the Russians might abandon ship. He demanded ISS partner nations lift their sanctions, tweeting, "Who will save the ISS from an uncontrolled deorbit and fall into the United States or Europe?"
It's showing off for, an audience of one, meaning Vladimir Putin.
Scott Kelly commanded the ISS for 3 missions.
If Putin pulls out, could the Americans alone make it work?
It wouldn't be easy. Is it impossible? I would say no. I think NASA's proven that they're capable of doing some pretty amazing things.
Another worry in U.S.-Russia tensions, the U.S. wants to prolong the life of the space station to 2030. Russia has yet to commit past 2024. For CBS Mornings, Mark Strassman, Atlanta.
Yeah, looking at the American landscape in New York, it would be concerning for me the way that they're running their day-to-day manscaping and landscaping operations. Some of the business decisions that they've made that have compromised whatever. I mean, there's like anagram in some of the Tetra and the changing diametrics of the air pressure and barometric, like barastolic, for a double compression unit that puts pressure points differentials into a system that is not supposed to be accessed by just persons, but it seems to be affecting my manly genetic, causing it to be unsecured at the moment and causing all sorts of health issues that are a personal health issue. on a personalized basis, that I need something more than a person's or person's version of human to speak with, but there's none at my disposal here in New York due to other inclement weather. Now here, talking about green jackets and golf courses, things I was never introduced to. I was never really introduced to the game of golf, maybe an introduction, but long-term love affair I have not had, or opportunity even to gain access to golf courses for whatever reason. But this is what they're doing. Look what happened yesterday.
At next week's Masters tournament, there is speculation. Our Augusta, Georgia affiliate, WRDW.
So he flew into something called Augusta, which in secured areas elsewhere is like a really important whatever. So he's creating some sacrilege to make some point in sacrilegious, sacking someone else's iconic religious effigy in some overlay of identity thievery and some total disregard. There's no respect shown to those that use these things for more important mastery purposes.
W spotted a plane reportedly owned by Woods arriving in Augusta yesterday. ESPN says Woods played 18 holes at Augusta National Golf Club, home of the Masters, with his son Charlie and a friend. This is barely 1 year after the car crash where Woods broke his right leg in several places. Since then, he's only played in one tournament, the PNC Championship, with his son, where they finished second. Woods has not announced that he will play at the Masters, but people are buzzing.
Wouldn't it be funny if he walked up?
My son's never been on a golf course. Just saying. Now this is the new reporter. On CBS I have no idea who this woman is. I've seen her face briefly come on the screen, and then it goes straight to my local news of, I don't know how that's all integrated, but she has no name. And then all of a sudden today, they left her on long enough with Raymore and Flanagan that they labeled her name at the bottom.
CBS Mornings continues.
She's Anne Marie Green.
In a moment, I'm Anne Marie Green. The COVID pandemic has led to hospital staff shortages nationwide. Healthcare workers have also reported a significant rise in burnout. Natalie Brand reports on how one hospital group in Maryland is addressing the problem.
My name is Angie. I'm one of the nurses here. How are you today?
I see you.
This portion of CBS 2 News is brought to you by Raymore and
Someone in an editing room has access to just cut off, re-splice, re-put in. I mean, again, these are problems at studio and understudies and different, I don't know, you say the political groups? I have no idea. That are changing the shape and the news from some unbeknownst location. And just sitting here in receivership, this is all I get to see. I know there's more insidious things going on as a driving force behind. I know the algorithm and the sequencing is not the same for me as it is for some other people. But it's changing and shaping. It's entrapping me as well. Because I have a feeling there's other things that I need to know about in order to find a way out and the verse and verbiage that I need in vernacular to ask for the proper help. But I can't even get that because this is all I have access to.
in Flanagan.
Good morning. It is 7:56 on this Wednesday, March 30th. Bundle up. It is another unseasonably cold morning. I'm Mary. Calvi Elise Finch will have your first alert forecast coming up.
She's the local chick. And I have no idea where they broadcast from. And that's her name.
The federal government will stop reimbursing for COVID tests and vaccinations for people who are uninsured. It comes as the new BA2 strain makes up at least 70% of new COVID cases in the Northeast. And as the FDA...
And here's what at Snore Fest, because it certainly is not a snorry feast, it's a fest, like a festering issue. Here's what they're so excited about the Grammys, and some Dennis Rodman's daughter, who's now playing soccer, who just got $1 million contract. Okay, so he was already a bajillionaire or a millionaire or something where he's got more than enough money in his life frame, and now his daughter has to become something super special. Why? At what point does this trickle-down economics work for Lou and myself? Just curious.
Some real FaceTime, just an Amtrak away.
Welcome back to CBS Mornings. I'm Tony Nicole. Coming up in this hour, Grammy winner Her joins us on our road to the Grammys. And oh, by the way, she's about to be a movie star, talking to us about her sensational career.
I'm Michelle Miller. A soccer phenom with a familiar last name is making history. How Trinity Rodman is conquering the soccer field.
And I'm Vladimir Dutit. Dylan Marin hosts a podcast called Conversations with People Who Hate Me. What he has learned by talking to people who say mean things about him online.
I can't imagine that.
No one would ever do that to us.
Not to you.
But first, here's today's eye-opener at 8. Russia claims to be scaling back operations near Kyiv, but U.S. officials are skeptical.
So now, my question is, since I don't have daily access to a mastery of anything or a Brotherhood member service, say at the level of 7, I don't even have a veer or a cat. I got Cattaruzza, but he's not really helpful. How do you BESERKR? How do you BESERKR and unload to the correct unit or correct man from Isle of Man that you recognize as a man? So if I'm in the Big Apple and I have the horns, do I call the bananas? I mean, I'm in Big Apple, and now it's a banana phone. Does that work? Or is that Queen Anne? Because for Queen Victoria and for Queen Elizabeth, they might be fighting. Who ever knows? Especially considering I'm in